People want to book something where the surprise has been completely removed. I mean, a lot of what we do is, is trying to ensure that you as a guest know what you're booking. It's not like you've been to the home before. And so making sure that everything is so crystallized for you when you book, that there's 4 bedrooms in the house. The first bedroom has a TV, has blackout curtains, has a mini split, and has a fan and a queen bed. The second bedroom has 2 twin beds and no AC and no TV. And, you just know exactly what you are getting. And the surprise has been completely removed. I mean, that is part of the experience. Everything, this whole layer on top of it, in order to remove that element of surprise, in order to elevate all of this so you feel like you're being taken care of from start to finish. I mean, that is the product more than anything.
You're listening to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, a podcast for those who are in and around the hospitality industry who love, live, and breathe what they do. You can join us for candid and unscripted conversations with hospitality experts and founders as we go deeper into their personal stories while they're sharing their triumphs and trials that got them to where they are today. I'm your host, Wil Slickers, and you're listening to an episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Now, let's begin. Welcome back, Slick Talkers, and this episode is featuring Matt Orley, who is the CEO of Red Cottage, a company known for its thoughtful, curated vacation rentals in the Northeast. Under Matthew's leadership, Red Cottage has expanded its reach by acquiring property management companies and introducing innovative membership programs that offer exclusive benefits like discounted rates and early access to new properties. With a reputation for creative strategies and industry insight, Matt is committed to balancing growth with exceptional guest experience. I've had the opportunity to meet Matt at the Unique Stays retreat hosted by Zach and Ben over at Onera and Behind the Stays. An incredible guy, all focused on acquiring new businesses. He actually acquired Red Cottage and then has now transformed the way the business operates and looks at loyalty and, of course, experience. You're going to hear a lot about this in this episode, and I'm so excited for you to hear the analogies and the ways that we're imagining product and marketing and communication all kind of combined. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation with Matt Orley. Matthew Orley, welcome to the show. How are we doing today, my friend?
Well, great. Thanks for having me, Wil.
Of course.
Love being here.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I know we've crossed paths at Unique Stays Summit by Zach and Ben and all the stuff I kind of covered in the intro. So it's great to finally sit down and, for the listeners, I'm not going to tell them. Well, actually,
you're hard to miss. You're everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
You're everywhere.
That's good. That means I'm doing my job, thankfully. But Matt, I'm excited to talk to you because you jump into the industry acquiring Red Cottage, and now you guys have acquired multiple short-term rental businesses. You've launched membership. It's incredible. And you're doing things that I believe in the traditional vacation rental sector hasn't really been done, at least to the speed that you guys have done. So I want to talk about the way you guys think about moving and how you guys make these decisions on launching membership and what kind of internal thinking kind of goes behind the scenes with you and your team in creating this brand and elevating what you guys are offering your guests.
It's a great question, and I think the short answer is that it's never where you want it to be or what you want it to be, especially at launch. And I mean, the membership was always something that I was thinking about from the time that I came into this business and this industry, only because you want to find a way to build recurring revenue into this kind of business. It's not easy to do so. And we were trying to figure out how to work it into the software for so long, and they just never were aligned. And, by the time that we finally did decide to launch, it was just this feeling of, let's rip this Band-Aid off, because we know that we can do this. We don't anticipate that it's going to move that quick. It actually has moved a lot faster than we even thought it would, which is fantastic. And it's forced us to go back and really make sure that we have, team members who are directly focused on supporting that membership. But, we're building it as we're going, and we're, trying to figure out where we need to prioritize our resources just in order to make sure that, we're able to maintain a very high quality and high standard there. If you are a member, I wish that some of the things that we do offer and that we deliver on were more baked into our software and our tech stack than they are. But ultimately, we're getting there, even if it's not the smoothest process. You you have to go for it. And I think that's how we feel about a lot of the initiatives that we're trying to put in place. It's never going to be perfect.
Well, let's talk about the tech stack piece and building your own, kind of layer on top of it. Obviously, there's a lot of off-the-shelf type of technology, softwares, companies in our industry, many that you and I are both friends of. But obviously, there hasn't been a true loyalty program, membership type software to come into our space. And I want to talk to you about this a little bit too, but we recently had John Sutton on Good Morning Hospitality talking about Journey, the new rewards program, merging kind of hotel and short-term rentals. And there's obviously Stash Rewards and a couple other companies kind of emerging in loyalty. But you guys have had to really kind of shift the way you kind of look at loyalty and membership with your own technology, your own operations stack. So what does that look like behind the scenes? Is it like hiring an engineer to build this? Like where do you guys even begin?
I mean, the engineers that we do work with are, very supportive of the features that we are bringing to them and requesting of them. So it's been, it's been great to have those kinds of partners. But just to speak to the point you made, which is there's so much off-the-shelf software that is, that has come to market in the last 3 years, right? And you walk the floor at Verma, as you and I both have, and there's just so much out there. But really, there's a huge open space in loyalty, and a lot of people have tried to, solve for this problem. And I believe that none of these ideas really exist in a vacuum. You have a lot of people who are recognizing the value in it at the same time, and so a lot of ideas are just circling. But you had, from what I remember when I first saw it, was there were some companies that were trying to create loyalty through, I think it was gift cards. And if you got if you made a reservation, maybe you'd get a Starbucks gift card or something of that nature. And when the purchase itself is such a high value, those two things felt antithetical to me. They didn't really feel aligned, and it never really made sense why, if you were booking a $5,000 stay, why you would care to get a Starbucks gift card or something of that nature. And ultimately, what you look at things that, issues that the OTAs are experiencing, and the things people complain about when they're booking through Airbnb, and all of that sort of filters into, well, how can I create a better experience for my customers who are coming to us direct? And what do they want? They want better pricing. They want to be taken care of. They want to feel like they are given more consideration as they're booking. They want to be taken care of. And I think we do that in spades. And we've created a system now where you are a member, you're getting preferred rates, we're waiving fees. A lot of guests we waive cleaning fees for, which is, I think, a huge, value add. We know all about you. If you're coming to us, we know what liquor you want, and we're making sure it's at the house. We know how you like your fridge stocked. We know if you have a dog, and how, and making sure that maybe there's a dog bowl there with the name on it. I mean, there's so much you can do to create an emotional connection with that guest. And more than anything, I mean, that's what the membership is about. There's all of these other things that you can add on just to create more incentive for them to book, right? But ultimately, once they have booked, they just want to feel like you know them and you're doing everything you can to take care of them. And I think, software aside and the functionality of the site, aside, that's what the real importance of the membership is.
All right, Slick Talkers, you are hearing this first on the show. We are welcoming a new partner for the next year, at least. This partner is the amazing Send Squared. Send Squared is our new partner, and it's a CRM for hospitality operators alike. You don't have to be a short-term rental operator or a hotel operator. You could be both. You could be either or, and you can have amazing CRM to communicate with your guests, with owners, and of course, building out your initiatives. As important as it is to be distributed and making sure that your marketing and your other channels are properly organized and distributing your inventory properly and effectively, it's way more important to be able to capture the data of your guests, of your owners, and to ensure that you are tracking everything. We are in the hospitality business, and the best tool that you can use to make sure that you're enhancing hospitality is a CRM, because you can track your guests and what they like and their preferences. And it's just so important that we now shift away from the growth of inventory, as yes, that is important. That's always going to happen in our business, but the growth of loyalty, the growth of service and hospitality. And a great CRM through our partners at Send Squared is the number one solution. So we are going to have a link in the show notes that you can sign up today, check out the team, check out the product, let me know what you think. And of course, let the team know that Wil sent you from Slick Talk, as they love to take great care of you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in the episode. And now we're back to the episode with Matt Orley. What do you think is missing in loyalty? When we envision loyalty in short-term rentals, obviously we kind of compare ourselves to the Marriott Bonvoys or the One Key programs, and like thinking about how can this happen in our sector, right? And like I think this is so unique because obviously all the inventory is unique, unless you're a condominium kind of urban operator, right? That has buildings that are all kind of same unit type, same design, kind of, et cetera. But it's so different. And so are we imagining loyalty in like too complicated ways, or are we not do we oversimplify? How do we kind of actually capture true loyalty in the vacation rental sector compared to the rest?
Well, no one's really doing it, right? So I think that the people that I've spoken to, the other managers, people building in this space, I feel like they've overcomplicated it. And the common refrain is that, oh, well, how do we create loyalty or perks when we don't own the inventory? And for us, we own a partial amount of our inventory. The business is definitely driven by third-party contracts. But that is really, I think what people sort of lean into when they're concerned or worried or not sure about how they're going to build that in their business. And I think I hear that, and really I think it's overcomplicating it, because I think ultimately at the end of the day, your owners want to feel like you are maximizing not only their revenue, but also their competitiveness in the markets that they're in. And there is such a glut of supply. I mean, in every market that we're talking about, there is so much competition. And the more you can do to create a direct funnel from your guest to your owners and your portfolio, I mean, that is the value add that you're providing as a PM that no one else can do. And I think that it's one of those things that you have to really be gung-ho about. It's just a more innovative way of approaching the space. And it's ultimately, it bears fruit for sure.
I saw a report recently through the Hotel Tech Report website, kind of about how, a bunch of technology providers, mostly in the OTA sector, channel management side of things, talking about how guests are demanding everything now, or going to demand everything. Do you see that?
Yes, they're challenging. I'm not gonna deny that. Guests expect a lot, and they want a lot. And as the vacation rental segment has changed and evolved, their expectations have, have evolved in line with that. And I don't think any of it's unreasonable, right? But you look at where we are now, especially post-COVID, it's a completely different space than where, Airbnb was in the first 10 years of its business. And we're here to provide we're here to keep up with that and provide that service and make sure we're meeting those expectations.
All right. So let me throw another kind of curveball at you then. I was talking with Simon Lehman at VRMA. We sat down, recorded a podcast talking about
Simon.
Yeah, great guy. Shout out to Simon. And talking about not accreditation, but certification to be an operator, right? In order to drive on the road, you have to have a driver's license. You have to go to the DMV, take the test, do the driven test, get your permit, get your license, whatever. There's a whole process to that. And Simon kind of talks about, the barrier to entry in our industry has kind of been too low over the last couple of years. During COVID, everyone could get an apartment or take your parents' second home and list it up on Airbnb. And basically, there you go. You're making a little bit of money. And obviously, we've seen the bottom fall out, I think, a little bit. We see a lot of operators that jumped in, maybe did it full time. Now they can't justify full time. It's not making enough revenue. They put it on longer term markets, mid stays, whatever. Do you think our barrier to entry is too low? And I'm asking this because of the preference of you guys have acquired companies. So obviously, we need people to get in this space in order for bigger players and players like you that are coming in to try to consolidate to do their thing, right? Obviously, we have to have people entering in this industry, but what kind of verification or process or permit or license do you even think we should have one when it comes to being a professional short-term vacation rental manager? Or do you think it should be kind of the way it is, where if you have a secondary home, obviously if you're just trying to host, you don't need to get a license or whatever, just do your thing. But if you're trying to grow a business, a real company with employees, the housekeepers, and
it's an interesting question, and there's two sides to it, especially as one might be coming to it through the lens of looking to of trying to acquire more businesses. And on the one side, the barrier to entry definitely is low, without a doubt, and so much so that you have the Airbnb co-host program, which is meant to further incentivize, individual managers to take on, more units and have a much easier and more direct path to growth, right? Well, it is in the best interest of the OTAs to lower that barrier further. At the same time, I think that creates more fragmentation. It creates more PMs with smaller portfolios. And to say nothing of the units themselves and the quality of the units, I mean, what we know is that, there is so much supply that what is ultimately performing are the investment grade, amenitized homes. Everything else is going to be, fighting to, and a race towards the, to the bottom in terms of pricing, so to speak. But what really, performs and wins are the homes that are elevated. But with respect to these, smaller PMs, now that they have, 10 or 15 units, I mean, there are a plethora of them, and they're all over the country, and the barrier to entry being so low has only further accelerated that. And so for us, it's not a horrible thing, because it creates opportunity where, to the point you made, it's a very hard business to build and to run. It's very operationally challenging, especially when you're broad and you're across so many micro markets. I mean, we're very geographically consistent at Red Cottage, where we're across this Northeast region. But even within that, I mean, are so many different pockets that operate in such different ways that have very different regulatory risks associated with them. But if you're, if you are building and you have that kind of small portfolio, I think you find really quickly, one, the software is incredibly expensive. Can talk about, software pricing all day long. And just operationally, it's very, very challenging. I mean, the labor dynamics in the industry are very hard. And so, you'll end up, I think we'll see a lot of smaller portfolios that get to a point where they need more support and they need more staff and they'll need to sell. And so as a buyer, it's not a bad thing, especially when you're so driven by a high quality portfolio, and that that's what you're looking for in terms of the individual units. Ultimately, there are very few large portfolios that ultimately have consistent quality across all of them, right? You tend to find that it's the smaller portfolios that have maintained that. Once you achieve some scale, it's hard to ensure that every unit you have is top tier. I consider us to be rather price agnostic, where we cover every price segment. Everything that we do have is very well designed and very thoughtful and warm and a vibe in its own right. But I definitely wouldn't say that every home we're taking on is just the most elevated. I avoid the word luxury at all costs, but it's definitely just unique and thoughtful. And we find that that's easier for us to see in smaller portfolios than it is, another large business.
Well, speaking of software costs, right? We talk about, I've said this 1,000 times, so I'm sure the listeners are tired of it, but Robin Cragen always talks about, being $20 to death, right? Where you add one software, it's $20 here, $20 there, $20 a door, $20 per month, whatever. And then all of a sudden you $20 yourself to death and you have no profit margin open because you're spending so much money on software, which I can see with the new operator, right?
Shiny. All of it's so shiny. I mean, you walk Burma and you're like, wow, that seems amazing. I need that. I need this. You think you need all this stuff. You probably don't need most of it.
100%. But like the question is, when it comes to efficiencies, it is such a human capital intensive business. It, definitely software helps. We all know how important a operations software, a PMS, and all these other softwares are. But where do you think the operators today, the new kind of generations, are still building? They maybe not as established over time in the sense of 10, 20, 15, 30 years of operations, say within the 5 years, how do operators become more efficient? Where is the profitability line that doesn't cross where it takes away from the guest experience? You got to talk with Horst Schulze, the co-founder of Ritz-Carlton, and talks about you could take out the chandelier in the lobby because it's too expensive and the guests don't care. They're not there for the chandelier. They're not there for the lobby couch. But when you do start taking things away and trying to be more efficient, eventually you start taking away from what the guests truly value. Not saying that they value the chandeliers or the couches, but it starts with that and it works its way to the guests. And would love to know, the efficiencies that we can make as operators, how we don't take away from the guest value, yet still make sure that we're making money. We're all in this business to make money. We're all in this business to sell or to acquire or to get to a certain period or point in business. So I guess where's that fine line and what do you see?
I think and the question is our efficiency and experience diametrically opposed? And
that's the thesis we're going to break into.
It's a good question. The business itself is, it's all about communication more than anything, right? We are, we have so many different cohorts and stakeholders, I guess, that we're catering to, right? Whether it's our existing homeowners, our homeowners that are in our pipeline that are being onboarded, our guests, our cleaners, our maintenance staff. There's so many different people that we are communicating with day to day. And we need to be most efficient with our comms and our ability to just quickly go back and forth. I think the most critical thing that we've built into our business this year is that now we're entirely text message based to every single person. And we've gotten, the business, used to be, it was all email, and you'd get these owners who, would, keyboard warriors who would send, their 8 pages of their thoughts on pricing and design and all of these things that it was impossible to respond efficiently. And even since we've been able to move everyone to text, it's been just a phenomenal thing for our business. It's allowed our business to be more nimble and move more quickly. That was something.
Is it because of taking away the time it takes to type out that long email, or that you're not sitting at your computer and you're able to be
people
mobile?
are less inclined to type out that email over text. But to the idea that I think, at least for us, the question is more about efficiency with software than it necessarily is, how you framed it, efficiency with, design and some of the more, some of those harder items that are on site. I mean, we're obviously not designing the vast majority of our homes, and they're being brought to us fully furnished. But we want to make sure at the end of the day, as long as we can streamline our tech stack and we can remove software, but as long as it doesn't take away from our ability to communicate efficiently, that's the most important thing that supersedes everything else. And we've definitely taken we've cut a number of services this year. I am a software junkie. I will sign us up for anything. And I think when I came into the business, I was like, we got to have that. We got to have this. We got to have that. And we had so many services that we were signed up for, and I've cut a lot of them. And as long as we're not making our communication more difficult, you don't see it. There's no real, it doesn't hurt the business here.
So you don't see any operational efficiencies that people are doing or not doing, but could be implementing outside of communication. It's not, that's not the core focus for you guys, or just communication opens up that door to make it more efficient. I would love to kind of dive into this more.
Yeah, I think communication makes the business, smoother communication has made the business incredibly more efficient. Absolutely. And, there's a lot of things that I think about, some of these guidebook, the software, check-in software, or the guest vetting software. I mean, all of this stuff is bulky. It is expensive, and I think in having really efficient and smooth communication with the guests from the moment they're booking and the moment they're engaging with you, I think you do away with a lot of the need for all of this other stuff that seems shiny, but it is just adding to your tech debt.
So good communication requires less softwares, which requires less operational headache, basically, is what you're trying to say.
That's it. That's it. Okay. That's it. Well, that's a perfect distillation of all of that.
Well, I'm trying to break it down because, reading a lot of the news, obviously, we just had the election a couple of weeks ago, and looking at government efficiencies, and stories are coming out right around this, and I'm thinking of how am I being more efficient in my business? What areas am I using AI to speed processes up? Am I creating too many extra steps? I'm a big fan of Six Sigma, so obviously calculating every process, every step to every function within your business or even your life, and how it could be increasing your efficiency and impact on the goal at hand. And in my head, it kind of comes down to let's just chop, this process, and let's make this better, and let's make this prep.
And that's absolutely.
I never think about communication. But I never think about communication.
It's all communication. The whole business that we're in is communication. And you have so many people at any given moment who are trying to engage with you, and they want to feel heard. That no one wants to feel like their message is sitting there longer than it needs to. That no one wants to feel ignored, right?
Sure.
And especially when you have so many homeowners that you're working with, and who are looking for answers, and they want answers immediately, right? That the entire business is, it's about communication. It's about improving communication. I'm going to avoid stepping into, any of the, you open the door, to about government politics, and I'm not going to take that bait. But absolutely, we are trying to figure out where we can cut, and there's so much bloat that we've built this infrastructure that is incredible and robust and supports a membership program at scale and allows for us to just maximize our revenue and have these other ancillary revenue opportunities. And that is the goal. But we can absolutely at the same time cut out things that aren't directly contributing to that, and without detracting from the guest experience. For our members, even if we don't have all of these things built in, you might have to, there might be one extra step where we have to manually apply a discount here or change this there that isn't reflected automatically on the site as you're going and you're making a booking. It's not a problem as long as, you know how to text us, and you know the number, and you know who you're talking to, and it's all very smooth, and you just feel like you're being heard. That, circumvents a lot of the need for other things to be perfect.
I love that. I promise I wasn't trying to bait you at the politics piece.
I don't think you were. I don't think you were at all.
We're not political show.
I was just meaning, there's a way we can talk about it through that lens, and I don't think
for sure. And I kind of want to ask you the question though, in terms of do you consider yourself like a product founder, an operations founder, a visionary founder? Like what kind of area do you really see, like Matt Orley, when I sit down and I look at where my strengths are as a founder, as a business owner, entrepreneur, what would you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself anything?
I love the product. I mean, I think I love trying to improve the user journey for anyone who's coming in. How do you ensure that your message is being communicated as clearly as possible, so that whether you're coming in as a homeowner, whether you're coming to us and you're a cleaner and you want to get into our cleaning program, or whether you're a guest, you're trying to make a booking, any of that stuff. I mean, it has to be so. Those are very different profiles of people, and ultimately we need to be able to capture all of them and make sure they understand exactly how to go through our product and our site, and just the entire the flow. And I'm thinking about that all the time. We're always trying to make it a better experience. We want people to come to us directly, and they are. I mean, we're doing the majority of our business in any given month is direct, which is fantastic. And we just want to make it easier and more appealing for people to do that.
What do you think is the most misunderstood part about our industry and talking about it as a product, right? Like the house and the home as a product. Where do you think we're misconnecting dots in the industry? Do you think we are?
It's a great question. That's a question you got to send to me before we do the interview, so that I can come to you with a really thoughtful answer.
It's off the cuff. I wanted. We're having just two dudes having a conversation. I love the off the cuff.
We are. I know, but it's it's such a great question, and I wish I had a more thoughtful answer for you, and I'm sure that I will. After this, where that's what I had. Some context. That's what it was. Give me, Let's explore. Let's pull on that thread.
Yeah. Let's pull on this thread. For the listeners, we're gonna go through this together, because I've had conversations with designers, with people. Not only are they really keen with design, but efficient design, making sure that the house actually is functionable for your housekeeping team to clean efficiently and not have to maneuver around all these new fabrics and carpets and all these things. And we look at the home and the experience I guess you can kind of pull it, and this is me verbally processing, be like, the home itself is a product, but the experience itself is also a product. How are they experiencing that? Through great communication, through great memory making moments, because you have loyalty and membership. Like what, I guess maybe, yeah, I'm not trying to re-ask you a question, but there's, in my eyes, I guess maybe two different products: the experience and the actual, home itself, the people, or the thing that people are purchasing for nightly stays. But we look at it so differently. Like hospitality has always been kind of like about the people and making sure everyone feels flat, but like we're not looking at the product as much, if that makes sense. I think like the product kind of sometimes gets missed or skipped over. It's just like, oh, it's a home, it's a furnished apartment, it's designed well, it's great. It's like, that's our product. Like we're not going to dive into it deeper.
No, yeah, and so that's a great way to reframe it. I mean, the product is the experience. The product is the layer that sort of exists on top of it. That is, the home's important, of course. But again, people have different expectations when you're even thinking about the vacation rental space. And those expectations continue to evolve and change based on how much supply comes into the market, based on innovation, amongst PMs and what they are, delivering, based on new OTAs. And now you have, companies like Capital One and Amex come in. I think there's going to be a JP Morgan Chase short-term rental platform of some kind. Even those kinds of businesses, coming in, are creating new sets of expectations for the guest. And the quality of the home is important, completely. There's a lot of competition out there, and people want to book something where the surprise has been completely removed. I mean, a lot of what we do is trying to ensure that you as a guest know what you're booking. It's not like you've been to the home before, right? Yeah. And so making sure that everything is so crystallized for you when you book. That there's 4 bedrooms in the house. The first bedroom has a TV, has blackout curtains, has a mini split, and has a fan. The second, and a queen bed. The second bedroom is 2 twin beds and no AC and no TV, and you just know exactly what you are getting. And the surprise has been completely removed. I mean, that is part of the experience. Everything, this whole layer on top of it, in order to remove that element of surprise, in order to elevate all of this, so you feel like you're being taken care of from start to finish. I mean, that is the product more than anything. And I think that's what we're doing at the highest level, right?
For sure.
Is that the answer to the question?
That. Yeah, no, I like that, because like yes, the product needs to be good, right? The house needs to be well designed, well established, and then of course the communication about that needs to be there, as you mentioned, and then that enhances the experience, which is overall product, right? Like we have to,
which is overall product, and that is what you're selling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and maybe let's bring it to a real life scenario. It just kind of popped in my head, and I'm sorry I haven't sent anything over to you. It's just, this is like I like this conversation.
I think the listeners like to know that. They like to know that we haven't, you haven't pre-fed the questions to me.
Yeah, we're not scripted here. We're real. But okay, so let's look at the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight for a second, because I've had strong opinions about this.
I've been waiting for you to bring this up. And I'm surprised it took you this long.
Well, okay, so there's many statements about, for listeners, if you don't know who Jake Paul is, big YouTuber, makes multiple brands, all this stuff. Mike Tyson,
I'm waiting to hear how you tie the Tyson Paul fight to the vacation rental industry.
Just wait.
Land this plane.
We're about to connect the dots. So there's been statements obviously leading up to this fight that Jake Paul is the biggest and the baddest or the best marketer in the world. And part of me is like, okay, I can see that statement making sense, right? He got tons of eyeballs on that fight. He got Netflix involved. He got Mike Tyson to agree. He got, all these things. He got the women's championship belt fight right before as a co-main event and enhance that woman elevation in athletic sports, in boxing especially. And so, yes, I can see like those things are all great. Tons of eyeballs, tons of stuff. But the overall product, the Mike Tyson fight versus Jake Paul, sucked. The broadcast sucked. Netflix, the biggest streaming platform in the world, can't do live streaming with good quality. The commentators were annoying and awkward. It was not the most best commentating thing where you're just like, what the hell are we listening to? And then the fight was horrible. The fight was horrible. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson barely threw any punches. Jake did and quote unquote won by the scorecard, but in my head, it was a horrible product. So can you call him the best marketer of all time when the product sucked? And that to me is like, how do we, like, I guess the product of vacation rentals, how do we make sure that we're marketing it
Depends
appropriately?
what you consider the product. It depends what you think of as the product, you know? And that, you know, the fight, I think, was one element of this, you know, long drawn out performance.
Okay, communication is key. You know, we're talking about this with Matt. We're talking about technology. We've talked about the efficiencies, and communication is so key. And one of the best ways to not only help you communicate through a CRM or a product like Send Squared is actually through a property management software like Hostfully. So Hostfully integrates all of your properties, your listings into one database, into one software that allows you to control your calendar, even connect dynamic pricing, and of course, communication. So don't just take it from my word. Go to hostfully.com. You can sign up today. Actually, even check out their industry report. They launch an industry report every year, and it's something I anticipate so much because there's so many insights and, of course, amazing quotes from industry leaders like many people have been on the show, and even myself. I've gotten to give quotes every year as they've been a great partner with Slick Talk. But without further ado, go to the link in the show notes, get with Hostfully, grab the special promo and discount that we're giving all Slick Talkers. And of course, we are back to Matt Orley and the conversation at hand right now.
All right.
Yeah. That's what people paid for, though. They paid for the tickets to go there. The people took 5 hours of their day to watch this live stream on Netflix. All this hype leading up to it.
I would, in that analogy,
Mm-hmm.
I think as you apply it to what we're doing,
for sure.
And I think this is, you know, I'm going with the analogy that you've teed up for me. All right. I mean, this was your, your example. I think in that analogy, the fight is more equivalent to the house, and you get there and whether
for sure
you don't want people to feel let down by the home. And we're doing everything we can to ensure that the homes that we have are of the highest level, that they are the most designed, that you're going to get there and love them. Absolutely. Right. But in my mind, that's not the product. And let's look at that through the lens of membership. And I think that there's a parallel here that runs nicely. Because we're trying to think of all the ways that we can enhance the overall experience, irrespective of the house. You might come to 4 or 5 different homes that we manage in a year, right? Because you want to try a different place, or maybe your group is different, or you want to try a different town, and you want us to make recommendations to you while you're there. I mean, that is really one of the most unique elements of what we do, just in that we're so geographically consistent in this East Coast, area. Our portfolio is large enough, but also, consistent across the quality of the homes themselves. And then we just have, such a high percentage of direct bookings that we get guests who are coming and staying with us multiple times a year for different weekends each time, right? It's amazing. It's one of the best things that we have in our business. I love it. But in that scenario, the house almost matters. The house is secondary to just what you're getting and the experience and how efficient we are making it for you, and all the other bells and whistles that might come with it. And when I think about what we're doing with membership to further build it out and make the value prop just that much more clear, there's so many cool things that we can add on. I mean, we're going to be adding a partnership with spas, so that if you're staying at a home, you can get spa access, near where you are, co-working access. Theoretically we could get gym access for people, just ways in which that you see the benefit of booking directly with us. And then that when you're there, you're going to have all of this opportunity to, go use all of these other facilities. The home is important. The home is critical, of course, but it's not necessarily the core product in my mind. And I would say, as it relates to the Tyson-Paul fight, that, everything else leading up to it and the whole experience of, that they presented is as important as if not more so than the fight itself, which wasn't great. I watched it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, did you watch it at least?
It was fine. It was fine.
Yeah. No, the women's fight was incredible. Such an incredible fight. That was
people will probably
watching.
still say the whole thing was amazing, and that's reflective of the bigger story around it, the bigger performance.
Well, the kind of post I put on LinkedIn about it was the one thing that short-term rental or even hotel operators can learn from the Jake Paul fight with Mike Tyson is that overpromise, or don't overpromise and overdeliver. And I think throughout all the marketing, through all the experiences, throughout all the hype of the event, it's to make sure that delivery at the end is actually matching what you kind of led that expectation to be. And right. I think like you just said, throughout membership and through all these other things, you can communicate that properly and lead. And it's like the experience leading up to the home is kind of that big thing that a lot of property managers should be focusing on. It's not just book and then 24 hours they're going to get a check-in instruction message and that's it. Like, it's actually building up into it a good experience that they can imagine themselves at the spa because you've already talked to them about why they're in town. And of course, how can you help coordinate a dinner or an anniversary thing or right. You can build that experience to actually become the better product outside of the home. They get to the home, they're like, "Girl, the journey here was awesome. And it's actually met my expectations. I know that this bedroom is a twin bed with no AC, and then the other one's a queen bed with AC and blah, 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 like, right, all the things you said."
Well,
and
you just removed the surprise. You remove the surprise, but then, you can tell them, "Hey, you should drive this way. It's going to take you an extra 2 hours, but it's beautiful." Like, you want the whole thing, start to finish, to be, to be part of the experience.
So that's how we landed. That's
Now
how we connected Jake Paul.
Communication.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is how we land a plan and connect Jake Paul fight to short-term rentals is the communication, the build-up, and of course the follow-through and consistency. So I think that helps for the listeners that maybe feel like we went on a tangent, but I do think about it quite often, right? Like, the product piece is so important, and I think it's the delivery, the expectation set, and there's a lot of pre-work, right? Like, I think the industry, or maybe even people that are first-time entrepreneurs getting into hospitality, it takes preparation. Victory does take preparation. You have to prepare, and the preparation is proper communication with the guest, making sure the team has all these data points on this member or this guest, or right? Like, it's a lot of preparation for the big event, and the big event is check-in. The big event is their stay, but the victory really is in the prep. And so, I just think from like a product standpoint, just looking at, and it's sometimes funny, I always think like, maybe instead of starting a short-term rental company, we should start experience companies that provide lodging, right? Like, we should be an experience-based business and then add the lodging later. That's the core is the experience. The lodging is like
they're very symbiotic, right? And it's I think two sides of the same coin in many ways. It's a great point.
For sure.
It's a great point. But if you're not thinking about experience and you're not thinking about communication alongside building your portfolio, and if you're just coming to this space thinking, I need unit count, I need unit growth, and I need homes, you're missing, the bigger picture, which is, there is so much, you can do so much more with a smaller portfolio if what you're offering from the standpoint of experience and communication is so high. And you can squeeze so much more juice out of that portfolio that you have, and you really should not be overlooked. I think that's probably the most important message to come out of this, is that those things exist, simultaneously, and they're not mutually exclusive.
100%. Earlier, before we wrap up, I kind of want to get to this last topic, because earlier you mentioned talking about fragmentation, right? Like, it's so fragmented, especially as the barrier to entry can be a little bit lower than most industries. One conversation I got really excited about during BRMA, on top of the Simon Lehman thing, was I got to talk to Nir Myman with the Myman Group out in LA. And he was talking about how, companies and property managers in their ultra luxury sector, right? Like, they're not just dealing with vacation homes, they're dealing with mega mansions and all these crazy experiences. But there's a couple other luxury operators. There's Rachel Alday with Abode Luxury Rentals, and then there's Robin Cragen with Moving Mountains, and all these companies that focus on luxury, and they actually are collaborative.
I hate that word. I hate luxury. The word luxury.
I hate the word too, but this is they're the ultimate luxury, in my opinion. I don't think other operators that are posting on Instagram about their vacation home that they just signed being luxury is luxury. It's they have butlers, they have concierge, it's a real experience business. And so my thing is, they're collaborative, right? They're not looking at their inventory as exclusive. Yes, they have exclusivity in the sense of signed contracts and operations, but they're like, hey, if I'm sold out, I can have my guests go to your place. I can help book, a Moving Mountain property rather than a Myman Group property. So the overall point and question I'm trying to get to you is, do you think the industry and operators can collaborate more in terms of lessening the fragmentation? There's a lot of brands that kind of do the same thing. They offer the same core values. They have maybe a similar look and aesthetic and feel, but yet they don't open up their inventory or their guests to other opportunities that may not fit for their stay or for their portfolio due to booked out nights or whatever. So do you think we can collaborate more as operators in order to enhance what we're trying to do in hospitality, not just in portfolio growth?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Because, listen, for most PMs, the North Star for them is portfolio growth, right? And unit count. And we know that to be true. In order to build a business in this space, you need scale. And it is very competitive. It's incredibly competitive. We are building things to stand out and further create a moat in our business and create stickiness in our ecosystem for our guests and our homeowners alike, so that people have more reason to be with us and stay with us. And I think that value prop is very clear, and we have amazing loyalty. With that being said, every week I'm seeing, other PMs who are trying to come in and, sending emails to owners and poach our owners and and our owners send this stuff to me all the time. Like, hey, have you heard of this PM or that PM that's trying to solicit me? And it makes it hard to be collaborative. And, when you see that, I think it's probably easier if you are doing so with PMs who are outside of your area. Obviously, Nir's in LA.
Yeah.
And, if it's, we definitely have really good relationships and partnerships with other groups that are not necessarily in our specific area. And we are always trying to operate in good faith, but at the same time, there's plenty of people who aren't. So it's a competitive space, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's great. There's a lot of people who want to get into it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I just want to hear your opinion. So nothing
my
else.
Opinion is I'm always open to collaboration and and partnership and within reason.
Yeah, within reason. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And it's just, it's always an interesting piece, because I never heard of it kind of explained the way Nir did when it came to exclusive inventory and non-exclusive. So it's like having a kind of two portfolio mix, to be able to offer, more crossovers and
To take an example, I've seen in some areas that we service, there are other PMs and there are new entrants coming into market who are looking for scale, and they have non-exclusive inventory on their site. But at the same time, that any of these groups, the exclusive inventory is so much more valuable to you and your as a business than the non-exclusive inventory, right? And so ultimately, if you were able to capture that contract, you'd probably take it. I think that you're letting the wolf into the hen house by if you're letting someone take your have access to that inventory in some way.
Yeah, that was a really good way to look at it. I'm always, and this my job is to just explore ideas and thoughts, and that's what I like about the show. So getting to hear you and Nir and all these different combinations of conversations, that's again like
if you're giving it to an OTA or someone who's not a manager directly.
Yeah,
you know what? Here, I was going to use an example. I don't even know if it's worth naming them. There is an OTA that has morphed and shifted a number of times already. And they started out owning all of their inventory, and now they have third-party contracts and they're a manager, and now they have it seems like they're pivoting again, and now they're an OTA. And so, they asked to partner with us, and take on our inventory into, onto their booking site in a non-exclusive way, when at the same time they have this other vertical to their business where they are acting as a manager. So why would I put my inventory on your site so that you could have more scale when likely, when you are you're managing in my area. What's to stop you? And they're like, oh, we would never do that. It doesn't make any sense. So if you're just purely an OTA, maybe there's more appeal. But if you're a manager also in some capacity, I don't know why you would ever do it.
Yeah, it's like if Capital One or these bigger banks had gone into it, they're like, hey, we're going to offer your homes to our loyalty card members, but we also have our own property management company that we've launched, and we are already global. You should join us and be a part of it. And not that love Capital One, so shout out to the ladies and the team over there that we get to talk to and work with. But
great partners.
Great partners, phenomenal. Love you. But it is, it's very much like if they, kind of jumped, or if Marriott Homes and Villas jumped in the space and said, hey, we're going to manage all these homes across the country, even though we're mostly a hotel company, yet they did it the right way. They came in and say, we want to partner with the right property management companies. We're not going to try to manage the homes and do something we haven't done. We're just going to be able to offer this to our rewards members. And that's a great value add. There's a clear distinction, like you said, right? Like it's not exclusive to Marriott Homes and Villas. It's exclusive to you, but it's just an additional channel. They're not managing homes. They're not in your market. They're not, turning over the properties or talking to owners and doing all this stuff. So I think it's kind of like, knowing the lane that they're in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Matthew Orley, this was one hell of an episode. We've chatted for about 53 minutes.
This was a great episode.
Great episode. I had a lot of fun. I love coming into, the conversations you and I have had offline, the conversations we've had on the show, and kind of trying to mix the two and hear obviously more of your story. So my famous last question for all the listeners, as they know, is where can they connect with you if they want to talk more, if they want to follow along the journey of what you're doing with Red Cottage? Let's get that shameless plug out there.
Yeah, our Instagram is Red Cottage Inc. Please follow us. Check out the new homes that we're launching every week. It's a great place to connect with me and the business.
I love it. All right, Matthew. So thank you so much for being on the show. All you Slick Talkers know exactly what to do. You're going to grab the link in the show notes. You're going to follow Red Cottage, Matt Orley, all the things. And if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you like and subscribe to the show so that way we can keep producing more of these episodes. So thank you so much. And we'll see you all again next week. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our show partners for making Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, possible. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love to connect with you outside of the podcast. So you can follow us on all of our social media channels for daily hospitality content, or find us on slicktalkthepodcast.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Wil Slickers, and we will see you guys all again next week.